one thing that we have that we control that nobody can take away from us unless you let them,
right,
is your peace of mind. That's the one thing we have. That's the one thing that is not controlled by anybody.
Yeah, like I totally agree. Like I think it's like, you know, you have to have a sense of self to guide you through anything in life, but like especially like, you know, family and just like trauma with growing up, because that bleeds into your you know, your career. Like you absolutely have to have some sort of healing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it's like anything. If your mind, I mean, I know from my own personal, because people always like, you know, they look at my career and they always say, "Oh, D, you're so successful," or "You're so lucky," or any of that bullshit. And I'm just like,
right.
One, luck ain't had shit to do with it.
It doesn't.
I earned it. Second, it wasn't like it happened overnight. And to me, I don't ever look at my life as being successful. What I do say to people is that my life is progressful. Like success to me is something that you have when you're done, when you have finished the journey, you've completed every bucket list that's on that checklist, and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then you can able to give it back tenfold to somebody to say, hey, you know what? This is what I went through. This is my story. And I think everyone has, you know, their story. But I think people, when you have trauma and you come from, you know, pain, everything is mental. It's a mental game. If you don't heal your mental, the rest of you, and I know that just from myself of going through. Wes, what's up, man? I know if you go through like the situations that I've gone through in my life, and I'm sure you've gone through your own, that it's like if your mind's not right, everything else just seems lost.
Yeah.
And
it's like a fractal. You know what I'm saying? It's literally like everything else, it's like a wave reverberates throughout your life. If your mind and your physical isn't right, nothing else in your life is. Truthfully.
No. And that's why I tell people, number one, but you also, everything in life is a choice. You have a choice to stay down and let it destroy you, or you can do what I did. And for me, it was motivation. It was motivated fuel to be like, you know what? I like sometimes being the underdog. I like sometimes having my back up against the wall. I like being underestimated by people because I was underestimated my whole life. The 26 years I've been in show business, you know, I have.
Yeah, you're like the OG. Like you literally like we were supposed to work together almost a decade ago.
Yep.
Like legitimately.
And you and this is the thing, and this is why for me, like I say to you, like you only get, and especially with COVID, people need to realize that you only get one life. Right. One. And before COVID, everyone was going at this fast pace, this movement. And it's almost like the whole world was a social media feed, you know, and the constant scrolling. And it's just like how people treat each other. They don't really connect with people anymore. They scroll through the lives because it's like, think about it. How many people could have 1 million followers on social media? 1 million. But I ask people all the time, the people that have those millions of followers, how many of those millions of followers would come running to your aid if you were in real trouble?
None.
None. Almost none. Me? You maybe get one if you're lucky. And to me, it's like people are just like when they look at the government in this situation, they're constantly thinking that someone's coming to save them. Nobody's coming to save them. The only person that you can save is yourself, because you come into this world alone, you leave it alone. So everything in the middle is what matters. what you do at the time, and how you want to be remembered. And that's why I tell people, number one, is that, like, if you're not, and I've said this to you, like, you have so much potential, and you've had this, and as I said, yes, we should have been collaborating years ago.
Yeah.
Because you've had this sort of stop and go, like a go-kart.
Weird theme in my life, you know, like.
Yes, Roger. Social currency. I think that's the thing that people, unfortunately, have gotten so lost in translation that they're looking for social currency from the outside, the people that they see in their feeds and likes and followers, but they forget to fix that the most important social currency is within. The thing, I mean, how much do you value yourself? And people, majority of the time, they value more what people think, say about them, than really taking into themselves, okay, you know what? I've got to value myself. I've got to value myself and know that my story matters. Your story matters. And that's why I keep on saying to you is that you have been your biggest obstacle. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know. I mean, what is the thing that you feel is constantly putting you in this quicksand?
Is that rhetorical? Like, obviously we both know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally my mindset. It's like this toxicity. It's like you grow up in this small ass town, you leave, you move out to the big wigs, the big shots, LA. You're like, sink or swim, I'm in LA. I'm gonna do all this shit. I'm gonna be the next big fucking thing. And then you sink. You don't swim, you sink. And you realize there were so many life rafts that were fucking thrown at you. And you didn't take any of them because you didn't realize they were life rafts. You know, it's like, that's just like how it was for me. I look back on a lot of things and I'm like, yeah, that would have saved my ass.
What is your biggest regret?
I think mentoring, advice, when people back in the day would say, like, you need to work on a brand. Like, you and I have talked about this at length. Like the politics, like, that's not your business is not the place for it. If yourself as an actress, as a model, as a brand is what you're selling, your opinion is not a part of that.
So what did you say? Hold on. What, I don't give a shit about anyone that doesn't like me, and that's the way sometimes you have to be. And tell people, like, this business, this industry, you have to have tough skin. If I could tell you the amount of people that have hated on me, don't like me, said shit about me, I could literally buy the entire country, literally. Right.
Like, if you had a quarter for every
if I had a quarter,
right?
And the thing is that, unfortunately, the difference is that, like, their hate is really them hating themselves. That's what I have to realize after going through certain things in my life, because I'm like, why are you hating me? Why are you hating the fact that I took a chance on myself? I bet on myself. I gambled on myself, and I won. And yes, I've stumbled. I have fallen. I've had my ass kicked, per se, in this business. I've been in the darkest places. 4 years ago, suicidal. Went through all that shit. But for me, it was like I had to take a step back and really realize what I am doing and why I'm doing it. Our greatest fear is worrying about what others think of us. It's a complete illusion. I agree. And that's the thing, is that I always say we live in a world that's a matrix. None of it's real. Like, none of it. None of it's real. Like, we don't own any of this. We don't own. Right. And what annoys me is that we didn't own this planet. The planet was given to us. Right. Like, we we are the visitors here. Like that's what we don't realize. Like we are the visitors, you know, of. She said also you're a queen too. We are the visitors here, and we have this big, 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 beautiful planet. But what blows my mind is how we will be remembered. Like when you think of like all the gadgets and technology and things that we have created in this world.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the last 15 years, you know, we'll be remembered in this generation more for what we destroyed than what we actually created. Because we have this society where we are so ugly to each other. Hey, what's up, baby girl? Come here. What? Come here. You want to say? Hold on. Baby girl wants to come in. Come here.
Oh my goodness.
Come here.
Let me see.
Nala, come here. Come here.
She's shy. She's camera
Come
shy.
here. Come here. Come here. Hold on. Hi, baby girl. Hi.
Oh my god. Listen, D,
Hi.
I'm not a cat person, but like she's fucking cute.
Hey, baby. You wanna beatbox? Hi. You want a beatbox? I love you.
Wait,
Say hi.
realize I've been trying to fucking filter on this shit. Like, please, Lord, give me something.
How do you do that? How do you do that on live? I don't even know how to do that.
It's the faces. It's the faces.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that on live.
I'm like ready for bed, D. That's why I was like, you know what? This man up here gave me a comment. He was like, "You look like a queen." Thank you. Do you want to get married? Okay.
Yes. Oh, and yes, Mel. Only I would cuddle a cat because, to me, they're the only pussy that I've been able to trust in my life for the last fucking how many years. And to me, the way that I look at it, that you know, the world needs more cats because you know what? When you have love from a cat, it's forever. Like, and the reason why I say that to people like you know, dogs or cats, and I'm like, look, dogs are like people. You know, they come to everybody. Like they just come to you. You don't know what their intentions are. But with cats, they make you earn that shit. Like they don't just give you the love and be like, hey, that's why when you get them, the first day you bring them home, they hide in a closet or hide in a back room for like 2 weeks. And then they slowly trickle themselves out because they want to see, okay, before I fucking start fucking with you, I gotta know that you're fucking with me and you're down for me the way that I'm gonna be down for you, and that's why my wisdom rests in peace. You know, she lasted 21 years with me. But
I have a bit of an ego, D. So like my dog, you know what I'm saying? Like my dog, like she like the second she was in my arms, it was like an unconditional love, and I love that.
No, but and that's the thing. But the thing is, the reason for me with dogs, man, I've had dogs, but it's the length of time. They're not here a lot. Like they don't live like cats for 20 something years, you know. Right. And that to me was like to be able to establish a connection. It almost feels like, as I said, it's like people. Like think of all the people that you've met in your life. Like it's crazy. Like Mel, who's on here, me and her have known each other since 1997, and
I was 4 years old.
And she has been, you know, we've seen some shit. We've gone through some shit. She's seen me at she's seen me at my conception. But the difference is that like we lost touch for a few years. But it was like, you know, it's real when you can just pick right back up, like right where you left off, like no time has passed, whatnot. Absolutely. You know, and that to me is where people now in society, they've forgotten that fundamental of what relationships are, because people would rather have social media status relationships than real ones. And that's why, like, for example, like, you know, I don't think it's the fact that when you have had these setbacks and these, you know, as I said, this hot and cold, because you know, you wanted to. I think it comes on the fact that you are who you surround yourself around. So if you don't have a champion fighting for you, pushing you, like saying to you every day, like, because like to me, like there comes a point, like I'll motivate certain people, but if they don't get their head out of their ass after a certain period of time,
but it's gotta be yourself. Like
exactly.
You and I had a fucking 3-hour conversation the other night where it was like, you were like, Tiff, you have to like stop like getting in your own fucking way. Like you have to be your greatest motivator because nobody's gonna hand this career to you.
Nope.
You were like, not even me. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's gonna do it besides yourself. So get all your fucking ducks in a row, and people will help you once you become easy for them to help.
Well, it's the thing because people don't understand is that like everything in life is about the relationships that we build. But if you surround yourself with people that don't want to grow, then you don't grow. And that for me is like I used to deal with. It's one of the reasons why like
you think.
Yeah, like for me, like you know where I was living before when Mel was in the same city as well too was. We were in a really shitty fucking place. Like I don't even want to mention. I won't even say the name because it makes my blood crawl. I mean, but don't get me wrong. I established an OG status there, literally putting the city. You know, because before I got into the Hollywood game, I was in a nightlife game, and I created an entire nightlife for a city, and that had nothing, and you know, gave some of the most legendary parties and events and created, you know, an atmosphere for people to come together, create marriages, relationships, friendships. And it was good. But as time went on, you learned, and it prepared me for Hollywood, was that when you give so much to people, you forget about yourself. You forget about that, like while everyone was growing up and getting older and establishing like friendships and relationships and marriages.
Right.
My friendships and relationships were my staff, my coworkers. And then when the shit was over, after 20 years in that game, I walked out and said, I'm gonna have all these friends, and I'm now able to hang out with people, and now people have moved on. They've like gotten married, they've gotten kids. I can't see them. And then the rest of the people were like, we don't need you for VIP, we don't need you for drinks, we don't need you for this. Yeah. And they were gone. But again, it mentally prepared me for the Hollywood game because you know what you're getting.
Moves fast. Like shit moves so fucking fast.
It moves very fast.
It's like I'm 28 and I'm on dated replaced with younger models. You know? I'm like, I'm not like old, but in Hollywood I'm old.
Yeah, but this is the difference is people always use the term, you know, there's an age limit. And hello, I got the biggest disadvantage being a black man in the industry, you know, because we just don't have the opportunities.
You do, but
so you have to
say you're fucking crushing it.
I try. For me, I appreciate that, and for me, all I can do is do what I was meant to be and do what I was meant to do, and I try to do it with the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. You know, each day I try to. My goal when I got in this industry was just to leave it better. When I leave it, like to be able to not be a blip, and that was for me was like, you know, Mel will tell you, like there's nobody that could duplicate what I did in the 90s in that scene ever.
It was a different
world. But then when I walked away from it and watched the new generation come into the scene and shit on everything and destroy everything and ruin everything, I'm not even remembered for it. Like, unless you're old school and you're old and but the new generation, they have no clue. So I was like,
No,
okay,
no, no,
but
no. You're totally right. Like I hear stories about the industry, you know, because like I work in it. My day job is like marketing in Hollywood, and you know, in my free time, like you know, that's what I'm an aspiring actress.
mhm,
We don't say that anymore. We say just like you're an actress that gets up at work. We
mhm.
don't say aspiring anymore. Um, but yeah, like I hear stories and it's like, holy fuck, like that, all that shit, all that effort, all that pizzazz, that passion. We don't
Mhm.
have that in the industry anymore. That's gone.
Because it's more about social media likes and followers than passion. You've got, you know, casting agents and talent directors who look more at someone's social media feeds and the actual person's of work of
Yeah,
what they've
like
done.
castings are looking at your number, your follower count, and not your.
Exactly.
It's like,
But this is where I try to tell the people, number one, is that, you know, when I started in this game in 1992, you know, there was no social media game. You didn't have access. You like even what we're doing right now. Like you couldn't do this if you wanted to talk to Tom Selleck or whatever. Like you
right,
had no access. And
right.
for me, when people sit there and say, okay, like, you know, age and this and that or race or this and that, I'm like, listen, all those things, if you know that they're there, I look at it, it's like when you learn how to drive a car. You had all these obstacles, these pylons, these cones, where if you hit the cone, you fucking took away a point. And then you have to start over again.
Right.
But if you avoided all the fucking cones, did your parallel parking
You
and
have such like
the
great
thing,
analogies. Like you
the
really do.
thing, well, thank you. But the things that are hard, the things, because remember, like who liked parallel parking? Like, I'm fucking sure that was shit was, when you first learned how to drive, I was like, okay, really? Like, how am I getting in this small space and,
Right.
oh, okay, let me reverse back. Let me do it again. Okay, you had to do it multiple times, unless you were just one of those people that just got it, you know. But you knew, in order for you to get your license, whatever was checked off of like you didn't do that well, you have to keep doing it until you did it well, and then you passed.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference was that when you think about when you were 16 and you earned it and you earned that license, you were like, you running the school, you throwing that shit up, and you're like, oh my god, I got my license because you knew you put in the work. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is now is that people are connected to instant gratification from the wrong people. They're connected to instant gratification from people that don't even know they fucking exist. Like if you look at it this way, and this is the easiest way I tell people, it's like you got all these people on social media who idolize, worship other celebrity figures that are in my business. They got, you know, they're on their pages and the comments and they say, you know, buy my fucking makeup.
Right.
They'll run to the store and they'll fucking buy their makeup.
Right.
With their own friends, their own peoples, their own fucking people that they say, yo, I'm down for you, man. You're my friend. When they start a business, crickets. They ain't fucking helping them. They ain't putting money toward. They ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when I had
Until they're like, you know, someone until they gain notoriety.
exactly. And
You know
then
what I'm saying?
everyone's your friend. Everyone
Yeah.
knows. And I went through that. And that's why, like,
Right.
with certain people, like, I protect my peace now more than ever because I'm like,
Yeah,
as I said, like, what?
you're on this crystal stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's what it is. It's like you have to realize that, you know, there's certain crystals of life.
Mm-hmm.
They're not for everybody.
Right.
Like you got to protect those crystals. You got to protect the fact of like knowing that not everybody wants to see you win, and that's okay.
Very few.
That's what I have to. That's what I have
Very
to
few.
learn. I'm like, if you don't want to see me win, no problem. Doesn't mean I'm not going to root for you. I'm still going to fucking root for you because for me, I want everybody to win. I want everybody to have a journey, and this is why I say this world.
It's such a rare mindset. Like, I'm with you because like I legitimately think like I saw something a long time ago. It was like Drake. He was a nobody back in the day. He was like up and
Mm-hmm.
coming. You know what I'm saying? And he literally was like, who am I if my friends can't take a piece? Who am I if my friends don't eat at the same table? And that has stuck with me because it's like, who am I if I have everything but my friends can't afford to be where I'm at?
Hold on a second. Mel, put some clothes on and jump into the room. Go on, continue.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, it's like, you know, the squad, the fam, like, people. Like,
no, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I look at, like, I mean, when I was younger, I had a squad, I had a crew, I was in a gang. I had all that. I went through so many phases of my life. You know, I went from, you know, of having large circles, but then as I got older, and this is what happens with people in life, is that when you start to grow and you start to, like, keep going up that ladder chain, you stay focused, because the way this is another analogy that I always try to tell people. Number one, that, like, I view the world like a battlefield, and my friend last night gave me another analogy which really sunk home, was that I view, when I'm on a movie set, like a symphony. I used to be a musician myself. So my internet is choppy. Don't mean to keep bouncing in and out. Well, put some clothes on and come in the damn room then. So for me, the way I look at it is that every goal in life is an objective. It's like, you've got to treat yourself like a soldier going into war. You got to treat the industry like you're a soldier going into war, because it's war.
It's literally a craft. It's like, but it's more than that. It's a craft, but it's a fucking, like, it's a brutal ass lifestyle. It's literally nothing shy of military training. Like, you do this shit for life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be the best in the business? Do you know how fucking harsh the competition in the business is?
And it's a question of how bad people want it. And this is the thing,
how bad
like,
do you want it? Because everybody in the world wants to be the 1% that is booking jobs, like Tom Cruise, fucking Halle Berry, fucking Viola Davis, like all of these fucking actors and actresses that are fucking top tier. But this
is the thing. Like, everyone asks me, like, it's always the question when they go through my portfolio, and they're like, how'd you work with Justin Timberlake, and how'd you work with Morgan Freeman, and how'd you work with fucking such and such?
You're like, I'm badass.
And I'm like, no, but understand is that what people don't realize is that they weren't looking for me. They weren't. I had to put myself in a position. But the difference was I had to earn that. It wasn't like, okay, they were just going to find me. And I always tell people, like, if you've got the talent, real people will find you eventually. But you have to put in the work.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Kevin Costner, man. If you build it, they will come. And this is why. But the problem is, this generation does not want to do the work. They want somebody else to do the work for them.
It's like it's like all these Instagram baddies. Like I just looked at one today. It was a guy I was talking to. He owns I'm not gonna say names. I will never do that. But this guy, he owns a skincare company, and him and his baby mama are like in deals with like Kardashians. And I was like creeping on their profiles tonight, you know, and it's like, I'm totally happy for them, but you can just tell it's like they're not putting in the work, and it shows. You know what I'm saying? Like, in anything you do, it doesn't matter. Put in the fucking work. Don't just sit there and like try to copy and piggyback off of everyone else's success. Like, do your own thing.
But that's what it is. But that's the thing, because everyone is always looking at. It's like when I have a meeting with certain girls or clients that come in, and they're like, I want to be an actress, and I want to be a model, and I want to be famous, and blah, 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 blah. And like, how? And I'm like, and they're like, I got 1 million followers. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care if you have 10 million followers. If you don't have 10 million, do you have $10 million in the bank?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you can't turn those followers into dinero, it means nothing. And for me, I don't even give a rat's ass about social media. Like, I don't care about likes. And this is the problem that I have now, not just in the industry, but in society is where your value.
Your light went out.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
saying.
Hold on.
Also,
Hold
someone said something. Hi, hello.
Your value, people now, and your worth is like about your follower status. Is about your like status, and I'm like, or they think, for example, and people don't realize because they don't really understand the way that the social media game works. When they see the people that have massive engagement, the Jake Pauls, the fucking King Bosches, understand one, their demographic is kids. They built their demographic on strictly 16, 13, 12-year-olds.
You don't have to explain this shit to me. Like, I literally, one of my best friends, we weren't best friends. We were okay friends in acting school.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Stocking. She's got 18 million followers, and her demographic is children. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And this is the thing. And listen, if that's your demographic, cool, good for you. If you can turn it into a brand, my hat's off to you.
Right.
But the way that these social media companies pimp out, because yes, when they're in their millions of followers and stuff like that, all these companies are pimping them for that engagement. And that's why now, like when it comes to Instagram, where you've seen the decline, where maybe 2 years ago, you make a post and everybody saw the shit. Yeah. And all of a sudden you started seeing over the years, like the more you posted, the less you posted, less people were liking, less people were following, less people were, and because now, unless you're willing to pay Instagram to really see that engagement, but I'm like, and this is what I was telling you the other day, I was like, you need to create your own brand. Fuck this OnlyFans bullshit. Fuck all these other platforms. It's why when I, for example, Mel will attest to this. When I was running nightclubs, actually Roger's even on here, who used to work for me. He used to work for me for years. And when I was running nightclubs, I used to hire my staff to basically walk around the fucking nightclub with a clipboard that would have name, email, phone number, address. And Roger will attest to it. Whenever I gave him that duty or any of the stuff, they fucking hated it. Like, why gotta walk around this damn clipboard all night? Like, what? And to them, it was like, okay, pick up girls. It was an easy way for them to talk to girls and whatever. But for me, I'm like, look, these people who were 19 years old, who just started clubbing, at some point, they're going to be in their 20s. They're going to be in their 30s. They're going to be in their 40s. They're going to have families. They're going to have businesses. They're going to have kids. And I was the first person doing this. 4,000 people in my club, and I'm literally having girls with clipboards running around, taking names and emails, paying them $50 a night to do it. And no one understood why I was doing this. He posted, I hated that. Even Roger even posted, I hated that shit. But again, the reason why I had them do it, because I'm like, look, I knew in my head at some point, my company name was Alliance Entertainment. Mm-hmm. When I started it in 93.
The year I was born?
Yeah. In 93, I had one vision. Alliance is what you have, which is where you find the best people, different genres, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different skill sets. Yep. I want to put all these people under an umbrella, an alliance. Entertainment, it's a big ass fucking word. Yeah. Doesn't mean nightclub, doesn't mean film, doesn't mean television. It means everything. You combine them together, Alliance Entertainment. But I wanted to make sure that my brand, my company vision, it was a one-stop shop. If you needed this, you came to us. You needed this, you came to us. If you had a skill set of something that, this is why, like, when people fill out an application form or submission form through us, and I'm like, and I'll put in a question of like skill sets, and I always have people say, well, even the ones that have no experience in entertainment, like, well, D, I don't have any experience. I said, I don't care.
You have skills. You have to know your. That's the thing.
Exactly.
You literally, like, one of the most valuable. All these 4 people watching this right now, like, this is a valuable piece of information. If you're an actor, an actress, a model, know what you're fucking good at. Know what you're gonna be cast at as.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know your shit before they even know it for you. You gotta know it. You gotta tell them, yeah, I think I'm, Margot Robbie, or I think I'm a fucking Frances McDormand type. Like, you gotta know your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because they already know it. But the fact that you know it and you're saying it to them, they're like, oh, okay, they do. They know it. Like, it goes without saying. Like, know.
But that's the thing. But
know
every
passable at.
I look at every talent, every person has something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to find it in themselves. And to me, but the biggest problem, as I said, and as I grew the business, I used those same people that I met when they were 19, 20, 30 in the nightclubs who I didn't really know. But let's just say they're they become in a business that I may need to reach out. And rather than pay them and say, hey, let me use your service, I was like, yo, you already provide that? Come into my umbrella. Didn't matter what it was. And then and I'm like, okay, you see this 2.5 million subscriber platform? When you're now just starting your business and you're trying to figure out where can I get customers, I already have them. So it's a win-win.
You're waiting for people to prove to you that you're not going to open up, as you say, your black book. Put your brand, your fucking company, your name on the line for these individuals, and then them make you look bad.
Which is what many times mistakes that I made over the years, because I always tried to believe in people. I always tried to believe, because I came from an era which was pay it forward. I came from an era where, I wanted to bring my whole crew with me. Mm-hmm. Like, if I win, we all win. But it was like, and Roger's on your test, like, me and him had fights because I've, like, in the past, I was like, you guys don't get it. Like, you don't get the bigger picture. Like, I'm trying to, you may think, like, all this little things that you're doing that I had them do. They were like, oh, I don't want to do this. Even though I was paying them, and I was still paying them, even when they weren't worthy of even getting the money. Still take care of them. Mm-hmm. But it was for me saying, okay, if I can't trust you with this small shit, how can I trust anybody with the big shit? Right. Exactly. So that's when as I said, but when you reach to a certain point in life, mm-hmm. when you start going like this, and you got people around you that are still playing it safe. Because many people want to just play it safe. They just want to go through the routine. They want to work a 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. They want to go to college. They want to get married. They want to have a baby, and then call it a day. That's it. They call it a fucking day. And then for me, I'm like, no, I'm not. I mean, listen, that's good for you. That's your plan. I respect it. That's not my fucking plan. I got bigger plans. I got bigger goals for myself. Exactly. And so for me, it's like, when you are, as I said, going up that ladder and you start to grow, a lot of times people this is where the haters come from. They want to keep you there. They want to keep you in the sense, number one, on their level. And then what happens is with your mindset, this is what I went through, what I think you are in this phase right now going through, is that because I've seen your work, I know what you're capable of. I know what you can do. But people get to a point where, like, they start apologizing to themselves for other people's behavior. Like, when someone does some bullshit, I'm like, why am I apologizing? You fucked up. You did some bullshit. And then it starts fucking with your head, where you start going, okay, like, am I really not cut out for this? Am I really not good enough? And I'm like, and then when you do something even greater, you get more people talking shit, trashing you and trashing your name and trying to bring you down.
It really does.
Exactly. And then you got the social media trolls and everybody, running their mouth.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, and then it just got to a point for me where I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to apologize for being great to anybody. Like, for me, it's like, again, you don't become great by just talking about it. And again, there's a difference. It's not about being an old saying. It's not cocky if you can back it up. Like I don't walk around like I'm King Motherfucking Tut and think I'm the shit, because I don't. But when it comes to my business, no. But I don't, because to me, babe, there's no difference between me and the janitor.
Right.
There's no difference between me and the guy that works in a factory. If he's passionate, like for example,
right.
My boy Roger, he used to work for me, but he's been in the same career job forever. And I always think like, dude, like how do you fucking do that? Like how do you do the same job like for that long? I would lose my fucking mind. But he loves his work. I can't knock him for that. I can't knock him in the sense that, he's got a family to take care of. Mm-hmm. If that's what your passion is and you enjoy doing the same thing every day and you're content with that,
yeah,
my hat's off to you, because he had to follow his path. The same way for me.
That's the thing, like that's what you have to realize about like life, is that some people's paths are, it takes all kinds, and
what he said and what Roger said, dedicated. You have to be dedicated to what you want to do.
Yes.
And you can't be, and that's why I tell people in this business, if you want to get into this business, as I told you, and you want to do it on the highest level, you can't half-ass this shit. Because if you half-ass it, or as I say to people, you have to invest into yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, you can't expect people to invest into you. That's why I always have people will come to me like, oh, D, I've got this business. I've got this great. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have a business. You don't have an idea. You just want me to do the work. You want me to come up with all the shit.
Right.
And you want to take the fruits of the loins. And I used to be that person. I used to help people, put my own shit on hold. And then it just got to a point where it was taxing, physically, draining me, mentally, until, as I said, 4 years ago, I took a gun to my head. And I was done. I was over. Like I had reached the lowest point in my life that I've ever reached. I don't really talk about it, but I had reached the point where I'm like, because people think on the outside surface, when you are on TV or you're doing things, and it's like, you're so, as I said, you're so lucky, you have a great situation. But people don't understand how hard this business is mentally. The sacrifice that you have to make, because understand, I tell anyone, if you want to get into this game and you want to make something of yourself in it, you have to understand the sacrifices that you make are more than anything on the planet for this business. You will sacrifice friends. You will sacrifice relationships. You will sacrifice family. And the most important, no matter any way around it, you will sacrifice your health. Because those late nights, those early morning calls, those going from one, and people don't understand is that the hard part about the business, it's not about when you're working. It's when you're not working, because that's when the real work is. You have to be out there and networking and pushing and doing all these things behind the scenes to create opportunities. And the problem that people have is that, it's like, for example, and this is why, like, I hate the OnlyFans shit. I fucking can't stand it, because it's made people get comfortable. Like, you don't gotta do much on that shit. You don't. There's always gonna be horny dudes, and people are gonna.
It's literally the easiest money ever.
It's the easiest money you're ever gonna make. But at the end of the day, is that, and again, I tell people, like, if you're happy with that, and you're just about money, then I'm not gonna knock you. Keep doing that. But the problem is, the girls that make money on that shit, they still don't invest into themselves.
Right.
They invested into purses and going shopping and drinking and partying, when basically, you know,
I
10
do
years
think
go
I do
by.
think it's different though when, like, for instance, me, I do think
Okay.
it's different when you're using it as a means to further, you know,
If
your
if you're
career.
doing that.
Right,
But most
right.
people aren't doing that. Most people, bottom line,
I
it's
know
like
most people are not doing a lot of things right with it. Like,
exactly, and
you
that's
put
and that
money
and
in the
that's
hands of young men and women who have no fucking clue what to do with it, and they have no
hmm
purpose or sense of direction in life. They don't know what to do other than spend it. But you put it in, Also, I don't mean to cut you off, D.
yeah.
I took a Benadryl. I gotta go to sleep.
No worries, Twitter. I'm glad to have you on here.
Yeah,
We'll definitely have to do it again when you're more awake and alive. And
yeah. And when I
um,
look less like I'm in my fucking bed,
where are you tomorrow?
I'll be here. So yeah, just hit me up. It's so good to talk to you.
Definitely, babe. Hit me when you wake up.
I will for sure. Have a good
Okay.
night.
Peace.
Bye.
All right. All right, guys. Oh, I think it's time for me soon to go to bed myself. So, all right, guys. It's been a blast. I hope that you guys are well. And time for team sleep. Peace.